All right, I think that works, right? It's awkward and uncomfortable for everybody. All right, ready? Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second episode of a show that I guess does have a name now. We're calling this little segment of sitting down with our priests and staff and different people from around the parish. We're calling it Around the Office because, well, practically we're going to be doing these videos around the office. So anyway, we're happy to continue this. We hope you enjoy it. We're good enough to have Father Zig, our pastor, here with us today. So Father Zig, thanks for being here.
All right.
I hope Father likes our props. So we have our official coffee cups that are empty. But anyway, so for today, what I wanted to talk about and get your thoughts on, we have in our parish a program called Generations of Faith.
Right.
Maybe you could just tell us very briefly kind of what is Generations of Faith, kind of what's the purpose, what's the goal of this program?
Well, Generations of Faith is a program that tries to offer catechesis not only to young people, but also to adults as well. Parents, we know, according to the documents of the Second Vatican Council, are the primary teachers of religion to their children. And many times the church doesn't equip adults very well regarding information for the faith. And so Generations of Faith is indeed an attempt to not only catechize young people, but also adults as well, their children, rather their parents in particular. So we're looking forward to continuing in this educational process.
And it's been great. So Generations of Faith has, this is our fourth year, I believe, of running it. And I would say it's been successful for the most part. I mean, there's been some struggles here and there, but for the most part, it's been successful. But I think the thing that we want to kind of work on, and I think the church is concerned with this, the church has a lot of concern for the state of the family and kind of understanding that family is critically important and supporting moms and dads and parents together with their children and kind of forming everyone a faith. I'm curious for you, Father. You've been a priest for a few years. So you've done a lot of ministry. You've got to know a lot of families over a long period of time. Curious, what would be some practical advice that you could give as pastor for a family to kind of live out their faith in a vibrant kind of living it to the full kind of way? Is there any practical advice you could give?
Well, I would say that the first thing that families need to do is to pray together. Mm-hmm. We know that it was the famous priest, Father Patrick Peyton, who came up with or coined the phrase, "The family that prays together stays together." Mm-hmm. And indeed, that's got to be the priority. The family needs to pray together. Mom and dad need to be able to be leaders of prayer in the families. They need to be the ones who initiate prayer. They need to be the ones who sustain prayer, not only within the home where it's a very intimate experience, but also to be able to, support the public prayer, the community prayer that is so very vital, and that is to attend regularly the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass. That's the strongest prayer that we have within the church, and mom and dad need to be very supportive of that initiative.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think prayer is so important, individually, but as a family unit to pray together, for it to be a community of prayer within the house. One thing I've heard a number of times, or many times really over the years, is parents and talking about how difficult it is to pray, how much of a struggle it is to actually find the time, number one, and number two, kind of get the kids to participate. So sometimes mom and dads, I think, get like the ideals of, all right, we're gonna sit down after dinner, we're gonna pray the whole rosary, and then 2 minutes into it, the kids are yelling and screaming and crying, and then something happens, the next thing everyone's frustrated, and then they kind of stop and they kind of give up on it. What might you say about that? Kind of like the struggles of kind of developing it? Because it's a routine, it's a habit, right?
Right.
It's not an easy thing.
Well, we know that anything that is worthwhile, anything that's holy and honorable is indeed a struggle,
Yeah.
and it takes a great deal of commitment and takes sacrifice, and it takes a whole lot of courage to be able to continue to pursue that which is good and holy. The forces of evil are always at us. They're continually trying to, distract us. Look at our own private prayer, where we can become distracted so very easily. And it's really the forces of evil that do that. It's, however, when we catch ourselves being distracted and return back to our prayer, it's our sign that we are not cooperating with the forces of evil, that our thoughts are being redirected back to God again. And so as we make that effort personally, I think it's important for parents to continually bring the whole family back to prayer again. Parents have to be as committed to giving life to the spirituality of the family as they are committed to, so many other aspects of family life, whether it be their children's education or their health, or any other sort of aspect of personal or family life. So too, Mom and Dad need to be very attentive to the spiritual aspects as well.
I was going to say we have a caller calling in right now to our show, but really, we just have a really low budget office, so just ignore the phone call. That's the Holy Spirit calling, Father. So that's good. Yeah, no, I think prayer is very important. I think it's definitely a struggle. I don't know who said it. You're good with saints in the history of the church. What is it? That a saint is simply a sinner that never gave up, or something to that effect, right? So becoming a saint, becoming a person of great prayer and virtue is not so much about starting what we might think of like the finish line. So we don't kind of start our prayer life as being this great contemplative master of prayer, but rather it's kind of this stumbling and kind of constantly, like you said, falling into distraction, but then kind of pulling ourselves out of it, not allowing the things of the world, the busyness of life to kind of overwhelm us and kind of say, all right, well, it's not working, I'm going to get away from it. So I think that's good to kind of remember, is that it's kind of a building process, over the years. I'm curious, Father, maybe just we'll kind of end with this. I know you've told this story before of kind of growing up yourself and being a young boy and having a mass set, right?
Correct.
So your household growing up must have been a prayerful household, right? I'm assuming a faithful, good family household like that, right?
It wasn't a perfect household, because I don't think there's any perfect households, right? But my mother and father did encourage us to pray. They did see to it that we were at Mass every Sunday, that we went to confession on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Of course, they were very supportive of Catholic schools, so we attended Catholic schools. So yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is great. Well, thank you, Father, for coming by and hanging out and talking and enjoying a cup of coffee. Very nice. Well, we're going to call it a day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see who's on next week around the office. All right. God bless.
See you in church.